Okay, welcome all to the September 6th meeting of the Dudley Water Sewer Commission. And I do have to advise everyone that this meeting is being recorded. Yes, it is. And we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the minutes of August 2nd.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of August 2nd.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Willard Stevens. Come on up to the table. And as you come up, please sign in on the piece of paper, on the list there, just so that our administrative assistant has your name
Yep, I signed it.
for the minutes. So you are looking to connect water at 32 Mill Road?
Yes.
What's happening down there?
It's a split entry split entry house.
Okay,
I already have the building permit.
okay.
Just they're here to be accepted to get a tie-in and set a date.
Okay, George, is there any issues down there?
They've had the same house was built right next to it, and he wants to go. It's a 10-inch AC pipe. Pretty standard stuff, so it shouldn't be any issue. Just gotta watch out. Sometimes the pressures up there run a little high, but otherwise no.
Okay. Anybody have any questions
Now
or
we gave
concerns?
We built the house a few years ago, right, Willie? So we gave him permission for the other house. You
Yeah.
know, it's septic system, right?
Yep,
So just water, single family.
yep.
You're gonna do the tapping on that, right?
No, I'm gonna hire the town. I'll be there at the other end with the pipe at the other side. I don't go into I didn't go into the road last time.
They have a contractor do that. You hire a contractor for that.
Okay, I thought the town did it last
And
time.
we don't do that much anymore. We don't have the manpower or the resources to do
okay.
that.
All right, I'll have to,
There's a number of them. We can give you a list of copies and
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I'll do then.
Okay, is there anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to give permission for a 32 Mill Road connection to water.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And in anticipation of that, our administrative assistant typed up a letter and attached is a copy of the fee structure that goes along with that. Okay. Records?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, he might need a letter from us to
That-
the building inspector.
That's
in
that.
there, plus the fees also.
Yep, that's that. Yep,
And they drop the fee off to like,
second floor, down at the collector's office.
okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Levine, extension for Nichols College.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from item 5 on the agenda as I work for Nichols College.
Okay. So for the record, Justin Dolan has recused himself.
I'll be right here when you're ready.
Okay, well, you can sit, you can sit. You can sit and listen.
Well, he's not supposed to. He recuses himself, he's supposed to leave the room. and
Oh,
shouldn't
okay.
be involved.
Oh, the selectmen usually just,
I'm just telling you what
Yep.
the actual rules are.
okay, the actual rules are, okay, that's good to know. Doesn't happen very often. All right, so you want to extend,
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time. Yes, we were here a year or so ago
Right.
for a permit for townhomes that we're constructing for one reason or another, that construction has been delayed, and we're looking for an extension. As I had mentioned last time, these are replacement beds. For those who have been around for a while and are familiar with the college, we brought in some modular buildings back in '07 that we're looking to phase out. So this is not a request to add beds on the campus, but in fact, retire some older beds. That's what the plan is.
Okay, it's an extension.
Which buildings are you taking the buildings down, the old ones?
Not right away. What we're gonna literally do is take beds out. It's complicated, but we have a couple, it's north and center, which are the modulars that came in. Unfortunately, they're unisex. So what we're going to do is just literally remove furniture from certain rooms to populate the new buildings. And then maybe in the next phase, these buildings will go away.
Use them at all?
No, we're gonna get rid of them. They were modular builders. They were used at the time when we brought them in '07, I think.
I remember
Remember
going to
the-
a few of them on.
Yeah.
Late nights.
It's time for them to
Yes.
go away. And plus, we're also, there's also Dudley Hall is another one that we're looking to repurpose that building. It'll no longer be a residence hall. This is clearly a multi-phase, multi-year plan.
Is it an even swap?
Right, now, yes. Yeah, one for one. Absolutely.
Okay, so, anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for Nichols College to extend their water and sewer permits for another year from this date. Is that how you want to say it?
Yes, it would be from the state.
So you did apply and it was approved
Yeah.
approximately a year ago, and like you say, you run into some issues, so.
Yes.
Anybody who's doing construction is being delayed, unfortunately.
Chairman, I'll
Okay.
second that for discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded.
The only discussion is, and that's why I wanted it on record as one for one, and because we're not allowing sewer connections.
Yes, that is true. Just so you're aware with extensions, if anything happens between now and next year, when the extension comes, it could very well come to a point where we say we can't. We're later on in the agenda, we're gonna be discussing a possible sewer moratorium. So, adding any sewer connections north of the fire station or west of the fire station is gonna be very difficult, if at all possible, for the near future. So, just so you're
Yeah,
aware of that.
I guess what I understand, and I guess I would throw it there, I would think my newer buildings are gonna be much more efficient from a water/sewer usage than older existing buildings. So,
But yeah.
it may help
yeah.
versus
It
hurt.
is a one-for-one change.
It is a one-for-one.
Swap, it's not an increase. And I believe that's part of the, is that part of it? In increasing, yeah, they're not, yeah, I mean, this is an unusual situation.
Yeah, it's a little unusual, but
Taking one down and replacing it with one, you know?
we do have the engineers here if they wanna offer any, their opinion. We did just have the interceptor studied. It's a lot of money to
Right.
repair what needs to be repaired.
Yes,
And I don't know, I'm kinda up in the air on this, knowing that it's gonna be one for one, and it's gonna be, like you said, probably more efficient than the existing that you're gonna eliminate. But then again, we also looked at it and said, we had a previous approval and we denied a new permit for that one, but different circumstances.
it is the different circumstance.
That's adding new, not
Right.
replacing. So,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, call it to a vote then. All in favor of the motion to approve the extension for Nichols College townhouses? Aye. Opposed? That would be 4 aye, no, 0 nays, and 1 recusal. And again, just in anticipation. She's very good at that. We do have a letter that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And you
Did she
can,
have both in case we said no?
huh?
Did she have both in case we said no?
She did not. If we said no, we would've just kept the letter.
Have a good night. You wanna pass them out, huh?
You can send Justin back in,
Yes, letters, huh?
back to work, yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay, Charles Zajac, 28 Early Oxford Road? No, okay. That's easy. There was a bill dispute, but he's not here to dispute it. Steve Watroba, Sawmill Road subdivision. So,
Good evening. Steve Watroba here representing Sawmill Road LLC regarding new subdivision off of Sawmill Road.
right,
Initially, I had talked with Jen about getting my sewer extension permit
right,
so that I could start construction, because even though the subdivision approval hadn't been finished at that point, we knew that it was gonna be done, and I thought if I got the permit, I could start the work in the public way.
right,
But there was a problem because your rules stipulate that the easement has to be in place on the private way. So, I don't know if you have it in your,
yeah, it's in our.
okay,
in
yeah,
our
so it's a
folder.
standard Form G.
Yep,
Covenants and easements of utilities. I had talked to George about this, and he suggested that the best thing would be to have the board review it and just make sure that this is.
yeah, I mean, it's a standard easement that will
Okay.
go to,
Okay, and then I also wanted to point out, in case you had, because obviously, as part of the whole process, I'm going before the planning board on the 13th, and they're gonna, there shouldn't be any reason why they're not going to endorse the plan at that point and sign off on it. And then once I record it, of course, all the boards are gonna get copies of the plan. But just in case anybody wanted, I brought copies of the sheet regarding the detail sheet for the sewer, just to show the line. I had shown this to George again, but in case you guys wanted to see it, it was pretty straightforward. We made one change, I don't know if you recall, but we were talking about the placement of where the manhole was gonna be. Initially, it was gonna be in the center line of Sawmill Road. And then we made a request if we could move it into the right-of-way, because that will put it actually right smack in the middle of the new road that's gonna be going in.
right,
Initially, you guys didn't want it in the right-of-way on the side of the road because of the problem that, bushes and stuff growing around it, but there won't be any bushes, it'll be all paved. And then, I think that about covers it. I also have a copy of the covenant, and the covenant actually also has language in there saying that the private way, the entire area of the private way will be, that easement will be a utility easement. So it pretty much means that there'll be plenty of room if at some point, any of those lines need to be dug up for repair. Obviously, hopefully a long, long time from now.
okay.
Now that we have the modern plastic pipe and we don't have to, don't have to worry about that stuff that,
Okay. Yeah, this is, what,
If that's still a private way, we're not responsible for that pipe, right?
that's why the pipe will be, with an easement, it will be ours. It will be, it'll be ours, it'll be ours to, the pipe and all of that will be ours through an easement. Just like with the easement down in the back.
my understanding is that the
Not
homeowners,
on
obviously,
private
once
property.
the lateral, where the easement ends and the lateral goes to the houses, that's the
That's private
homeowner
property, right.
of those individual houses is responsible for that. And of course, everything will be built to the town standard.
So
Just a question, Mr. Chairman and Steve, that will be a gravity main throughout the whole system with manholes?
Absolutely.
No pumps?
No pumps, all manholes.
My question, Steve, is we're gonna have the main going up the center of the road?
I've actually got the,
Yeah,
why don't I just pass these out real quick so that way you guys can. I have enough copies.
Sure.
Okay.
It's gonna be on us, we're gonna have
My question, Steve, is at the top, is a manhole? Sorry.
So, yeah, so as far as,
see what this, I can't read this.
as far as on the new private way,
Yes.
it'll be on the center line of the road.
And then their laterals will go to the main and the road, right?
Yes.
Okay, my question is, who's responsible for their lateral in the easement?
That would fall under the same jurisdiction as the main, because it would be in the private way.
Yeah, but
Laterals, people own to the main.
would be under them.
Yeah, for any jetting, rotting purposes.
Emergency
There is-
situations we respond to, but overall, in case something happens to the pipe, would be the homeowners.
Yes.
Right.
It's like,
How do we do this when having them responsible for it?
that would have to be written up in an agreement, like the easement agreement, or something that the utilities.
Steve, we don't take care of any laterals,
Okay.
and that's considered a lateral from the main to the curb,
to the house,
to
yes.
the house. But if,
Oh, yes, on sewer, yes.
yes, so.
Okay, so we're
Water
talking
goes to a
about.
curb- Water goes to a curb stop, sewer goes to the main.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. So that's not something that's,
There's no shut off.
isn't that something that's just implied by the regulations of your existing regulations of the sewer board?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then why does it have to be written up specifically in some other document?
It just, so there's a clear understanding, so as you sell and whatnot, so the homeowners know that they're responsible to
We've
the
had this
main.
issue
That's
before,
what-
with
people
Yeah,
selling.
just to make sure it's
and-
clear that everybody knows, that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in the bylaws.
Say the lateral gets crushed in the road before the main,
Yeah.
that's not our responsibility, it's the homeowners.
Yeah, I think the language in the covenant says that it's the responsibility of the people that are benefited by the utility, I think is the language that
Yes.
they use. I think that's what covers and
That would be the homeowner.
basically says the homeowner is the one that's benefited by the power lines, bringing power to their house, or the sewer, taking sewer away, or the,
Just wanna
If there
be
were
clear,
water.
So down the road 20 years, when neither one of us are around, not on the board, you know, that we don't leave a,
Yes. No, yeah, it would be the same as any other main. Okay, yeah, I don't, there's no,
Question, Mr. Chairman. Sewer manhole at the base of the cul-de-sac, and you've got a lot up here. That's a hell of a distance for someone to have to rod their private line down to that manhole. Here's the line going up to this house lot.
yep,
You know what I'm saying? I question that as far as, why isn't there a manhole up here also, now that you look at it?
Manhole where?
At the
At the
end,
top of the-
top
at the
right-hand,
top-
top
at the top
right-hand
of the
corner of
cul-de-sac.
the cul-de-sac.
There is one then.
No, go beyond it.
there's one at the bottom of the
Towards that
cul-de-sac,
house
but not
lot.
the top.
To the north?
There's one at the
Yeah,
top
to the
too.
north.
Up in the
Go
north, there
north to
should be
the end
two.
of the house lot, to where the house lot is.
At station 2+2.00.
Is it, we got one here.
Yeah.
Then we
Yes.
got this double 45 offset going around
Oh, yeah.
the rain
Oh, yeah.
garden. That's a heck of a distance without a manhole.
Is that sewer?
what, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're looking at.
You look here, it's labeled sewer, it's labeled sewer manhole, right here, right? Sewer manhole. Is it right at the base of the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
You've got a sewer line going up beyond the cul-de-sac, going into this house lot. There should be a manhole at the end of that cul-de-sac for jetting.
Is that a
That's a lateral.
Yeah, but the laterals is in the road for how many feet?
Not to change the plan, Steve, but if it would've been simpler just to put the manhole up
Put
here.
the manhole at the
Yeah.
end of the road.
Yeah, I know, gentlemen, but I mean, hell, I was here weeks ago and I specifically asked, does anybody want to see the plan? And I got,
No,
I always
I'm not
say,
approving it without a manhole at the end of the road, simple as that. Because we've been down that road a million times jetting. There's no way you can expect someone to have to clean a sewer line from their house another 50 or
No,
100
that-
feet
I
off
mean-
the road, down to that manhole.
How deep is your rain garden?
Get it?
I think that's why if I knew this was gonna be an issue, I would've had my engineer, I would've paid him to be here tonight, because I think that's what he would say, is that we're trying not to go underneath the rain garden.
Well, you're going around it now anyhow, with that 45-degree offset.
Yeah, so they don't go under it, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how far back the house is.
Yeah, how far back is that house at the end of the cul-de-sac?
In that unit.
It's wherever the builder wants to put it.
How big's the lot depth-wise?
3/4 of an acre, it's,
You could be 200 feet off the road yet then.
no, it's not that deep. He can't be 200 feet off the road because of the rear setback requirements alone.
Yeah, the rear setback.
Yeah.
It's only a half acre, 3/4 acre lot.
So we're talking about, I mean, literally, I'm in the 11th hour here, and we're gonna go back now and we're gonna change the entire design of the sewer system?
I'm just questioning adding a manhole at the end of the line.
We could approve it with
Bends
the
in a line without
contingent
a-
of
an
adding a
area
manhole up
between
there,
that.
Steve. If that's possible.
Manhole right here.
Like I said earlier, it's,
Because you do have an offset right here, you follow me? Typically in sewer construction,
Well,
there's a manhole at an
do-
offset.
In a lateral?
if this
Yeah, maybe.
manhole was moved up here,
How can a person's lateral be going down through a right-of-way like that distance? That's quite usually the lateral comes directly out to the center of the road. It doesn't go down the road to the nearest manhole. Because you're in the middle of the 20-foot wide pavement with the lateral going up to that end house.
if that lateral, that manhole at the base of the cul-de-sac, could that be moved to the top?
I have to ask the engineer.
If you did that, it'd have to go through the rain garden. He could run his lateral through the rain garden if you were gonna do that. The only feasible thing would be to throw a manhole where you've got the bend on the lateral and just add main from that manhole to the other manhole. And then have the lateral come straight in.
I'm just saying further north than the last manhole, another way of jetting,
I know what you're saying.
you know?
I mean, if they have a plug somewhere at that bend, there's no way to get to it.
Right, right.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, can we approve it with the contingent of?
Keep the other one
Because as it is now, you have the manhole at the very edge of Sawmill Road, and I don't know the distance up to that proposed manhole for jetting purposes. Well, you know, here's our first manhole. I don't know what the distance, well, it's hard to read. I don't know what the distance is to that manhole.
that's not, that's
Could theoretically just move that,
51.
move the manhole at station 2 plus 2 over, and you'd get it out of the rain garden if you just angle it in that road instead of being centered up there.
I was just gonna say, does it have to be in the center line? Does the main have to be in the center line of the road?
No.
there. Actually move in
No,
towards
where's
the
the
rain
water
garden.
main though?
Just move it up.
No,
to
water
the-
main,
Water down there.
No.
these are all gonna be private wells.
Actually moving in towards the rain
At
garden.
least get it up towards that 40, that bend, the offset going
bend down.
around the,
Just quickly taking a piece of paper and going a line, you can just missed the rain garden.
Now, does anybody happen to know, because the underground utilities for electric and cable are gonna be in the right-of-way off the paved road and on that right side there, is there a requirement that sewer line be so many feet away from that? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Nope.
All right,
Sewer has to be away from water.
okay, so,
Just put it. I thought he had two up there. Ingrid doesn't care if they put their names right on top of ours or some stupid.
Yeah, they don't, they just put it wherever they
Cover
want.
the concrete.
yeah, I think that's feasible. I don't know, for some reason I thought that it was gonna be a requirement that it be in the center line of the road.
Okay, so,
So could drop that, let me just,
How wide is the easement, 30 foot?
I'm just saying, because of
Yes.
the offset here, Steve, if that manhole can be moved up just to beyond this manhole, just beyond the offset, I'll place it up here somewhere.
right.
Just move it.
If the manhole is closer to this paved edge here,
mhm.
then I think what you guys are saying is, you could probably get
Yeah,
very
you just
close to a
gotta-
straight shot.
Right,
You know, it'd be kinda close, it might,
Eliminate that offset.
yeah.
yeah.
Even if it still comes up the middle, and you make your offset, at least the manhole, you can get access both ways,
So
up to the house and down.
is it permissible to have a turn here, like a 22.5 in the main, and then go to the manhole here?
Not without a manhole.
I see a
You
bend.
can't change direction.
Change of direction requires a manhole, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, at
With
45
the
is a
gravity
change of
line there.
direction.
How wide is the easement?
The entire easement's 30 feet.
And the road is gonna be exactly 30 feet, or?
No, the road's gonna be 18 feet.
Right,
So you're
So
still,
our easement is,
still within the easement.
our easement's gonna be out here anyways,
Just closing that.
right?
Yeah.
If that's where the road is, our
Yeah.
easement's gonna be out here anyways, so you could actually cut off of the pave to shoot up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is, the underground utility is gonna be right here, though.
Yep.
Well, at least that's
Yeah,
current
they don't-
proposal.
they
That's,
don't go-
National Grid is putting together that design as we speak, hopefully.
You don't mean to throw your curves to you, but, you know, we're looking
No, well,
20 years in the round, we're
yeah,
not here. and
sure.
We've got the issues.
Look, we've got issues in town here, you virtually have baskets down in some manholes catching debris that's being flushed down, you know? I don't want the repeat there and you
Yeah.
can't get at it.
It's funny, I was talking to Bob from M&M today, and I was just asking him, I said, do you have my numbers yet for me? He says, I'll have them for you tomorrow. I guess I gotta call him tonight and say, well, add some footage.
Add a manhole.
Yeah, just add a
So,
little bit of,
But it's all fresh dig, so it's not like,
I'll talk to the engineer first, because if the engineer says that we could put the manhole here and just keep it a whole straight shot, that would be better, right?
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, a straight shot would be
I mean,
best.
I have to believe there's a reason why he specifically is staying out of this rain garden area.
Going around it.
Yeah, he's going around it clearly for some reason.
Well, your manhole's like 7 feet, 7.06 feet deep.
Yeah, I mean, the rain garden, that's, it's,
Yeah, it shouldn't be anywhere near that, right?
it's not gonna affect that.
I mean, I know it's a pain to rip up the rain garden if you had to fix it, but. I mean, you
Chances
honestly-
are-
Pain to rip up the
Chances are, by
pavement
the time
anyway.
that happens, that rain garden's not gonna be there.
Yeah,
Rain
that's, I
garden.
mean, sewer mains don't typically, go bad. But 30, 40
The new
years,
stuff, I mean, yeah.
yeah, stuff gets plugged. But, yeah,
Yeah, I
okay,
can work with you on that.
Okay.
all right,
I just can't give you the specific answer of how to get it done
Yeah.
until I talk to the engineer.
okay. Well, I mean, it's
But
still.
for tonight's purposes, the main thing was, yeah, if,
You see my reason, 45-degree offset beyond the manhole, that's a long lateral going a great distance to the house.
Okay.
That's at the furthest north point.
yeah, no, I mean, like you said, if you get a blockage there, well, then you're gonna end up having to dig up the paved road to fix that anyway, so.
Okay,
Has Highway agreed to accepting the drainage system?
Yeah, yeah, the highway,
Just because you've got it all in the same easement, the water, the sewer, and drainage.
yeah, and actually there's additional easements on the definitive plan that show for the rain garden, because there's a drainage easement on lot 1 for one rain garden, and then there's a drainage easement on lot 2, 3, I think it's lot 5. I don't recall off the top of my head if it goes this way or if it goes this way. It's either lot 2 or lot 5.
Okay, I mean, there's no action to take here today, but, fix that, yeah, just fix that.
Yeah, is there any way that, once I have the plan that shows that this has been moved to where you want it, that I can just come and show it to, like, George and then get my permit? Or do I have to wait for another, no offense, but I really don't wanna have to come back before the board again
We
and
can make a
then,
motion to
Approve
approval
with
on the
the-
stipulation of the change of.
okay.
That's reviewed by George or one of us
Yeah.
at the same time.
Okay, anybody wanna,
I'll make that a motion.
okay, a motion to,
Approval
okay, because this was already approved.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, specifically the easement, the language of this easement.
Right.
If you can vote to approve this tonight, then I can,
we don't need to, do we? As it said in the letter from your attorney, that that's a standard form. That, I mean, I read it, it's legalese,
that's what I thought too, but
Do easements need to be accepted by the town at town
No.
meeting? Are you sure?
no.
oh,
You're dealing with real property essentially.
Well, they just recorded at the registry.
Yeah,
yeah, that's just.
I know you can record it, but I know that
it gets notarized and recorded.
typically I mean,
Just don't want to pay the recording fee and then find out that it's not gonna do what I need it to do, which is let me give you $12,000, get that permit, so that they can start digging up the road.
saying, I always understood it that an easement would have to be accepted by the town. Cause you can't just type up an easement and go record it with the registry and then be like, oh no, I gave the town an easement and you guys are required to come maintain this. You know what I mean? The town has to accept it, there's an expense, there's monetary things here, I'm not sure, I haven't gone through that here, but.
No, I don't, did we have to do that with? Yeah, we did.
We had to have it accepted
Yeah.
and recorded through the town for our easement for the water main project. And SRF required that
Oh, yeah,
to show that it was
that's SRF,
accepted.
yes.
I always understood that easements needed to be voted at town meeting to accept.
So just so we're clear here, now we're talking about, what is this, the nuclear option? You're telling me now I've got to wait for a town meeting to vote and approve me granting you an easement?
That's not my area, if that's a town bylaw or if that's
yeah.
a legal requirement, I would refer to town council on that.
Well, hell, I've got the covenant for this that talks about the easement that was just reviewed and approved by town council at the request of a couple of planning board members. And it's signed by 3 of them. Because she said it's good to go. She changed the language on one paragraph,
Someone in planning?
just,
Of the
Town attorney?
town council?
yeah.
Yeah, I know, we have letters in here for,
I brought a covenant to the planning board at the last meeting.
yep,
Figured again, it's a blanket, it's a form, I don't know, this is a Form G, I think it was called the Form F covenant. Pretty straightforward.
right,
A couple of board members stirred the pot, said, hey, we don't like this, we think town council should take a look at it. I was like, great, thanks. Sent it out to town council changed the language in one paragraph that they had a problem with, changed it to what she said would fly,
okay,
sent it back and told the town planner, okay, this is good to go. They could sign off on it. 3 of the 5 board members signed off on it. The other 2 are waiting until the next meeting because they want to talk about it some more. I've got a copy of it if you want to see it with the 3 signatures on it. It was just down in the police lobby. I brought it up here because I thought, just in case.
We could vote to accept the easement, but I don't know if it's, if you then have to go to the town, you're still in the same spot.
I tell you what, why don't we do this? Take no action tonight. I'll sign this. I'll get it notarized. I'll record it. I'll come to the office and I'll say, here's a copy of the easement that is required by your regulations for you to issue me a permit to construct a sewer main extension. And here's my check for $12,000. And you give me my permit and we're all happy. That way you don't have to do anything tonight, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know if, I mean, you brought that, I don't know, I just thought, there's too much to know.
Yeah.
Agree to an easement for when it has drainage in there, and I'm not.
This is, you know, because I'm just kind of, I'm confused, because I know I've got approval to tie in these 5 houses.
Right.
And I've gone through the process
Yeah,
of,
you've gone through all of that,
Right.
so that's
Right.
fine.
but none of this gets any of these houses any sewer, because I can't get a permit. And I'm told the office can't issue me a permit because I haven't granted you the easement, and I'm trying to,
Okay, the easement, yeah, I don't know what the, I'm sorry, I just,
I
I'm
could
not
be
up on
incorrect,
everything.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm just questioning it because other towns that I've worked in require to go to town meeting anytime you accept real property or sell real property, or, and an easement is essentially real property. You're accepting a liability for the town. Has to vote on.
That-
I don't know. It could be different in the towns.
what about that section 157 of Mass General Law, chapter 157, section, what is it, section 9 or section 5? Where it talks about that, a homeowner who has property on a private way can ask the town, town services to actually do work on the property if it's needed to be done. That's already in the Mass General laws. Doesn't that cover it? Because there's nothing in there about that has to be approved at town meeting for that to happen.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much in Mass General Law. If I knew all of that, I'd be sitting over in that corner over there. Yeah, I'd be a lawyer.
You'd have Esquire
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, you guys were gonna be the easy guys.
Yeah, I didn't
It
think
might
this
be as
was.
simple as sending an email to town council and they say not required. You're done.
Yeah, I mean, that's pursuant on clarification from town council whether or not, a easement has to go to town meeting for acceptance.
Or if yours is accepted by the town
That,
attorney.
I guess we could make an approval that way. It has to be,
Well, like you said, if we don't take no action, you could just do it, whether it's recorded, but whether it's legal with the town, that's the, you know what I mean? The town could then turn around and say, well, the town didn't vote on it, it's not really a right of way. If that's the way it's supposed to be.
yeah, I don't, we're kind of stuck.
We're stuck, I think, well, as you mentioned, Bob, get an email out to town council and get their blessing.
Get their opinion,
Cover our
get
tail.
an opinion from them, then you're good to go.
So that pushes me into October?
Can we get yeah, well, if it had to go to town meeting's in October.
No, I meant, if you send the letter to town council, we wait for town council to give a reply. If the town council gives a reply, do I have to wait until October's sewer meeting to come back and find out that turns out didn't need it?
Well, if you go the route you said and you go ahead and record it, and town council says you don't need it, then you're all set.
Well, obviously, since we're gonna ask town council anyways, I'll wait to record it until
Just gonna suggest that.
Yeah, I think it's $125 to record it or something like that, so.
Just don't wanna get you a headache down the road and say, you go through all this and you start digging and then somebody says, well, it's not approved by the town.
I mean, the road already is, it's just whether or not whether or not we actually have an easement.
Yeah, I mean, hard to believe,
I
but.
can't imagine that that even town meeting would say no, but then again,
Yeah, back at the beginning of July, the planning board voted to approve the definitive subdivision, back in the beginning of July. Since then, it's just, what's that?
Private road though, right? The town didn't accept it as a road.
No, they approved the definitive subdivision as presented. Since then, it's just been about working out the language of the covenant, getting the decision signed, getting 5 people to come down and sign off on it.
Now, when they approved it, the plan they approved, did it have the easement on that?
Yes. Yeah, it's on the cover sheet there.
Part of
It's
the covenant.
written, yeah. And then the covenant also references it, and the plan, when it's recorded, will have the book and page number of the recorded covenant referenced on the plan.
so what's the,
Did we contact town council? Good time tomorrow, Mr. Chairman?
can try to make a call to the corner office and, so, you know, all town council requests go through them. But, do we wanna do anything?
Do you want to vote to, do you want to vote on it pending approval of town council? And that way, if town council says yes, then I don't need to come back and bother you again?
Yeah, they give it the blessing, I know.
Okay. Okay. I just needed to get that in writing, write it down. All right, so what's,
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept the easement for the Sawmill Road subdivision, tentative to town council's approval.
okay, there's been a motion, is there a second?
Well, how about the language, in regards to, does it have to go to town meeting?
Well, that's the approval
Just
for town
gonna
council.
take it
that way, you know?
Town council says yes or no, then
I'll second that, as long as it's
Okay.
to town council,
Okay,
cover our tail.
all right, there's been motion and second, is there any further discussion?
Probably put something in there about the drainage, because again, you're accepting an easement.
Well, to be honest, drainage is not our issue.
But it's in this, and you're accepting this easement, saying you're taking responsibility for that drainage.
Do we take, I don't believe we take responsibility for
I've got enough
that.
issues
Limited
with
to sewer.
the department that would manage storm drains, and that's not us.
Well, I mean, by your argument, you could say
That
that I'm
would
also
be-
asking you to come and take care of the underground electrical and
Which
the
is
cable and
same easement.
telephone.
That's,
Because this is a utility easement, it's a general Form G, it doesn't get,
You say that, but you specifically say, deliver onto the town of Dudley all water distribution, sanitary sewer, and drainage system, including related easements.
oh, actually, there is no subsurface drainage system in this road. That's probably what they're talking about, there is no subsurface drainage, there are no storm drains.
runs down the road.
Yeah, it's country, it's
Because you've
it's
got-
a country drainage, there's gonna be a
You've got a swale.
swale on one side, and then the rain gardens are for the, if the swales can't handle it.
There is no subsurface drainage, okay.
This
That,
doesn't say subsurface, it says, and storm drainage systems. So, a rain garden could be considered a storm drainage system.
I would've struck that from the damn thing, but it's a standard
Okay, all
form.
right.
I didn't put that in
So
there.
I will ask if we take responsibility for drainage as well if by accepting an easement. I don't believe we do, but we can ask just to be sure.
Just saying, if it says it in this easement, and 5 years from now, someone's complaining about how terrible the rain garden looks, and they say, well, you're responsible to maintain it. It's
No,
in
we're
your
not,
easement.
yeah, but that's, an easement doesn't do that.
Are we
That
not-
would mean
Are
we
we not
would,
required to maintain the sewer and the water? Or not water, but actually they're saying distribution.
okay, in that case, the easement that we have that run across the Law's property, we would be responsible for mowing over that forever? No, they mow their own lawn.
If they decide to let trees grow up, we're required to maintain that to keep it from destroying the sewer pipes and everything else. So we are required to maintain it.
Okay, I'll make a call. I'll make a call. All right, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, 30
Here-
inch
here-
drain easement. What's the 30-inch drain easement?
30-foot drain.
30-foot drainage.
Yeah.
I don't know, you get the smallest plans you could possibly.
30-foot, I think.
It's a swale, that's a swale off the side.
It's not a pipe.
I was at the planning board meeting that they happened to discuss that. That's a swale cut in the landscape. I mean, groundwater, storm drainage has never been the, under the auspices of the water and sewer department.
But you're saying
Or you
that
could
you're
put it to limited
accepting
to
this
just sewer,
easement.
what's limited to us.
We are accepting it for the purpose of a water and a water pipe, for a sewer pipe. That's it. Everything else that's in that easement is not our concern.
If it's recorded with the registry of deeds and you accepted it, you're accepting what it says.
Okay, all right.
If you don't want to accept it, strike it from the easement.
Okay.
Don't just use a general one to say we're gonna generally
I'll
accept it.
I'll ask the questions. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. So, we're 3, 1, and 1.
Depending on the, like I say, it's an
Because that's contingent on getting a favorable ruling from town council. Okay? So that's where it's at. Okay?
Okay?
How to throw you a curve.
Okay, Halleck Construction, Mason Road Project. I think that's just about everybody that's still here. You know, we could have turned the lights on back there.
Up here, any chance?
What's that?
No, you just get used to being in the dark.
That-
wanted to take a nap before.
Okay, and for the record, a invitation to the Board of Selectmen was sent by Mr. Halleck and by our board, and we did get a letter declining that they would not attend today. So they're not here.
Is there any reason for that, or?
They want to meet on this at the end of October. That was what they had set up as a time at one of their meetings. They've never agreed to come to any of our meetings. I don't know what the reasoning for it is. For public decorum, I'll just keep it at that. But, so I know we're trying to finish up this whole,
It's only been a couple of years.
Oh, I know.
I wouldn't know what the rush would be, you know?
yeah, I know. Personally, I agree with you. This should have been taken care of a long time ago. I don't know why. Well, I think, again, it would only be speculation as to why they continue to drag this out. So, what did we, I know you said you had told me you had had some conversations.
I had conversations with the TA this afternoon, and I've also talked to Bob about this, and I looked at having the 3-year warranty reiterated back into play from the time of, it would be the year already used up.
Right.
So it'd be 2.
There's 2 more years, yes.
He wanted to have a conversation with a couple selectmen, a couple board members, Tom, and I suggested our engineer involve himself too, so that there's certain conditions can be mapped out of what would constitute a responsibility if there was some kind of failure on the road, and and I thought we should get more of an engineer idea of some professional, because the bond company that Tommy wanted was not going to endorse that, and the reason was a couple things. It open ends his liability too much, and it also, where's the expertise that says that what it is now is no good, and I'm not going to get into that. So you'll have to go further into this with Ty and Bond also as to what they don't want to kind of involve themselves with it, I guess, because it sounds to them like it's a dispute between
This
two
is outside
departments.
this is outside of Ty and Bond's scope.
Right.
I think that if the town wants to go that avenue, they can request a proposal from Ty and Bond to get their input on what parameters would
Yeah.
dictate that it's a failure due to a 2% difference, which, if you understand what 2% in an inch and a half is, that's 3/100ths of an inch.
I actually brought my digital caliper if
Yeah, maybe
anyone would like to see.
maybe we could show it to you.
I-
It
I-
also show how many pieces of paper.
I know, from work, I was just talking to some of the engineers at work, and 3/100ths of an inch is
Pieces of
critical,
paper.
is critical there. On asphalt, it's a layer of water on top of this. It's
not
probably
even a
less
layer
than
of water. Water is
less
the-
than the water from a light rainstorm.
I wasn't fully involved, I wasn't on the board at the time. What was the specification? Like,
92% compaction.
okay, and it came back at what?
And that is a state highway spec,
Between 89.
not a town
It
road,
came back at
like a, cow path road.
I understand what 3/100 says. You might be
Oh, yeah,
better
I-
off- might be
I'm
better
very
off showing
familiar.
a piece of paper, yeah.
I think it was
In fact, I might even have that same caliper on my bench at work.
So you gotta understand too that on,
The difference we're talking.
September 17th, 21, we were at substantial completion.
That's three,
All we had to do was our final paving.
that's barely my.
September
barely my
17th,
thumb.
21,
I,
substantial completion. We had it signed off. We had substantial completion. The town came up with this sidewalk that they wanted to do. So we could have paved it in 21. Could have paved that whole thing in the fall of 21. But no, Jeff wanted to do his sidewalk job. Of course, we had our patch in there right next to the sidewalk the whole way that the sidewalk went up there. So we had excavators and skid steers and cement trucks every day driving all over your patch and everything. Not to mention the gas company came in, dug up all kinds of, up there, right where we were working. And who's responsible for that? How many compaction tests were done when they did their paving, or before they did their paving? The gas company's probably done 10 miles of gas line with a patch that's out there. Drive it and look at it. The whole thing is settled. And it's within my road that I'm being held responsible for. That we could have paved and be done with this whole thing, and you guys still owe me $31,000. And for what? Like I said, if you want, I talked to the testing company. They'll come back in there, do 3 more tests. The margin of error is so small, it could easily be fine, especially since 2 years have gone by. Or should we put signs on both ends of the road saying, drive at your own risk? It doesn't make any sense. And why would you be holding my money? For what?
Back in, this is September now, back in June, it was a May or June, it was either the May meeting or it was the May meeting. The compaction thing came up. We proposed a 3-year extended warranty on it. That was sent from that point. It didn't come up again. We asked a number of times, because we got calls on a regular basis from our engineering firm. And we asked, and it was finally brought to the selectmen. It's recorded. They said that it was the first they'd heard of it. This was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever that
August 7th,
meeting
I
was.
believe.
It was in August.
Bonding company doesn't want to put a bond up for something that has no parameters. It's arbitrarily, you're gonna have all kinds of problems with the road.
We understand
We are
your
on the
argument,
record
Tom.
being right there with you. This is being held up by another board in town.
Nobody here that you have to convince.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Jeff, has there been a pay requisition for the retainage?
Jeff Faulkner, Italian Bond Engineer for this
Right.
project.
Sure. And if you haven't, please sign the thing, the attendance sheet there. That's just
Yeah, what
because
day was
our administrative assistant is on vacation, and when she does do her, when she does do the minutes, she'll, that'll just help her.
Sure.
She won't be able to read my handwriting.
Yeah.
So there is a pay request from Hollick to close out the job. It requires a balancing change order to go to that dollar value. In that balancing change order, the resolution of the pavement issue, should be documented. If the water board would like to execute a change order just for the balancing change order without mention of pavement, that could be an option. I don't know how the town would feel about that, but the processing of a final pay request has generally been held up because the pavement issue has been lingering.
So you had said a 3-year warranty, not a bond, a warranty. So
Well, we really don't want to do that at all. We would prefer to have 3 more cores taken, and if they're all passing, let's just be done with it and get the rest of our payment and
I can come up
and
with
close the
1,000
project.
reasons why 3 more cores would not work correctly, or you're rolling the dice on that as well. Because at that point, if 3 cores failed, and just being part of the project, if they failed again, then I'd request that you redo the road. So if you want.
In regards to a 3-year warranty, are you talking a bond or just a warranty?
Just a
A
warranty,
warranty.
just a regular warranty.
You've already used the year, so it's a
Right.
two additional years.
But we could have paved that in '21 if it wasn't for the sidewalk job.
I understand that. I'm just trying to see if you're amenable to a 3-year warranty.
If there's no financial cost to it and I'm gonna get my money, I'm good with that.
So, have you seen anything other than an extended warranty on something under these circumstances where you're talking about a 2% difference in compaction? Did I requested?
200s.
It's 2%, which
Yeah,
is
2%.
3/100ths
Yeah.
of an inch, I understand that, or
Yeah, okay, yeah.
0.762 millimeters.
Yep.
But, so has there ever been anything other than an extended warranty, based on just a 2% difference in compaction, on a mill and overlay? This isn't we didn't reclaim the road.
Reconstruct the road.
So I mean, it wasn't a full reconstruction, it wasn't, we went above and beyond in our contract to have full mill and overlay as opposed to the typical trench repair.
In my career, I've never run into anything other than an extended warranty for this type of situation.
So,
The paving company is a long-standing.
Well, I didn't do the paving.
Yeah,
Subcontractor did.
right.
Which
And
he
he's the
also
same
did,
subcontractor that Jeff uses. And he doesn't require any cores. So what sense does that make?
and I'd like to see what the results were from their paving if they used the same sub, was it the same sub that did the?
But they don't take core
Amarillo
samples.
did the other part of it.
Jeff doesn't take any core samples.
I'm just saying that I've noticed some of their paving where it's delaminated, so I drove down Mason Road today, it's not delaminated, so, I mean, if he's using standards that he has, I'd like to see his standards. I requested them from Jen to get copies of any of his standards. If you,
PJ Albert, you're talking about?
I'm looking for Jeff.
Oh, Jeff's.
The town's,
The towns.
the town's standards for
I understand.
paving.
Yes, yes.
I wanna see that, and I wanna know what they're trying to hold these standards to.
Well,
for
if they
a
don't have any
basis-
standards for themselves,
That's my point, but.
Well, that's what the question would be, what does the warranty consist of? Do we have to wait until that time frame elapses before we get paid our remaining money? Or we'd get paid now and then
You get paid,
2 years, an extended warranty for 2 more years?
We release retainage, and then what happens is it's just, if something that's determined, if something in the roadway fails, that's determined to be due to compaction.
And that would be at your discretion.
Then we would talk to you and get it fixed.
it's due to workmanship. If it
yeah,
was due
but
to
that's
work-
impossible. It's already been a year. Everybody knows, once you go through a freeze and thaw period, any kind of settlement you might have at all is gonna
To be honest with you,
obvious.
the settlement is not what we're talking about.
I understand
If it
that.
settles, that has nothing to do with the compaction of the asphalt, which is what we're talking about. That's a separate issue. So I don't know if that's what the highway commissioners,
Yeah.
superintendent,
Just
whatever.
to clarify, compaction tests were done on the trenches during the water main.
trenches,
They
yeah.
all passed.
Right.
So you met those standards, and it's obvious, because the road hasn't, you don't have gullies in the road where the
The road
trenches
hasn't
are.
failed it.
But there's other trenches within the roadway where there was no compaction done.
Those are not your trenches, so we
Right,
understand that as
but are we gonna be exonerated from those areas? If there's settlement?
It's, like I said, you're off by 2%, 3/100ths of an inch. So nobody's gonna even see that with their eyes. So I don't know what the highway commissioner's determination of a failure over a 2% compaction difference is. But, you know, through you, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we have the engineers fill out the pay rec, submit it. It has to get signed by the town administrator. If we sign it, your actions after that would be with the town for not finalizing your contract.
Okay.
Because, in my opinion, you've met all of our requirements. We were happy with a 3-year warranty. We all voted on that previously, I believe,
we did.
to move it forward. So that would be my recommendation. If we could get the pay rec, signed off by the engineers to move forward in that respect.
And that 3 years would start from September 17th of
From when it was-
2021, when we received our substantial completion?
That,
It would be when, or my recommendation would be when, we're talking about extended warranty on the final paving. So
Right.
August of 2022 is when the final paving was done.
Okay, so it'd be August of
Just on the paving.
2024 that our warranty
you've got just
would be
under
for.
2 years.
In order to process that change, that pay request, we would need a change order signed by the town.
Right.
Just to let you know.
Right, so whatever we need the pay rec signed, and then the balancing change order in order to close it out. Because I don't think it's fair to Mr. Halleck that we've been holding off and not closing out his project. And if the town wants to come up with a bond, and they wanna contract your services to come up with parameters that would show that it was due to a failure of 2% of compaction, feel free to sign that with them, but that's outside of our scope too, so.
Right. So, are you putting that in the form of a motion, or?
You don't need a motion to do any of that. This is
No,
standard
just-
practice.
yeah.
They submit
Right.
they submit the
So,
change order,
yeah.
they submit the request. We'll vote on the change order when we receive it. I mean, we're not gonna vote on a balancing change order at this point until we get it.
Right.
So
Okay, that's,
I'm just requesting that we move forward
and if we can,
with the normal process. If it gets held up after our board, that's on them.
so, yeah, we can work out if we need to have a meeting to take care of that.
We did request that the selectmen and the town administrator come,
Right,
so that we can have this discussion and get this finalized, but
yes, and there was it's somewhere in there.
decline.
They declined, we received a email on Tuesday declining attendance tonight. So we're gonna move the paperwork forward. And
We don't have control over the final signature, which is outside of ours, so.
You can go ask at an open meeting.
What's that?
You could go ask them at one of their open meetings.
yeah, that's,
I think if I could ask them, they'd be here. You know what
No,
I
we
mean?
mean, you,
I would consider it a waste of time.
yeah. Okay.
It seems like town politics
But
more
it would
than
be on
anything.
record
It is,
Pardon?
it's
But it
on
would
record
be
now.
on their record.
It's on record now,
with us.
Yeah.
but that's with the town. Okay, so process the pay rec and we'll move it forward.
We will
The
come, we
closing
will
change
come in
order.
and sign it as soon as it hits the office, so you're not waiting.
Thank you.
that's it, you need from us on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, you're the next 3 lines on our agenda, so,
I'm good on this one.
huh?
I think I'm good here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll move it, we're gonna move it forward.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Bob.
For coming in.
Sorry about that,
Sorry
Tom.
for the delay and the headaches on this, but.
I even fell in that trench. I even fell in that trench. I tripped and fell.
So now a more fun one.
Okay. Potash Brook, Jesse Road.
So Jeff Faulkner from Ty and Bond again, and my
Paul's-
colleague.
Paul Smith from Ty and Bond.
So you had us prepare a draft report relative to the Potash Brook Sewer Interceptor, which has been experiencing high flows, particularly with one sanitary sewer overflow in recent time. Paul led that meeting, and I'll let him take it from here.
Killed some trees.
I did, I didn't know,
I read it. I read the first part, the report up to your recommendation.
all right.
And actually, there is a large copy of these brown prints in the office. He left it with us, last, when we had the meeting out, we walked the easement and, so there is a large size copy of this in the office.
So I previously met with Scott and George about a month ago to go through the background on this job. I'll try to give you the abridged version, ask questions at any point, just try to walk you through what we did here, where we're at and where we're recommending to go with this. As Jeff said, there's been half a dozen sewer overflows relating to Potash Brook Interceptor in the last 10, 12 years or so. So we were tasked with looking at the hydraulics of that interceptor. To do that, you essentially, we created a static model Excel-based spreadsheet where we're looking at, I'm gonna explain this clearly in Appendix C. What we have is basically your manhole-to-manhole sections of that interceptor. So the first spreadsheet with green, there you go. So what we have for information, as part of our SSES back in 2018, we actually had a meter in the interceptor, so that's the best data we got, all right? This first spreadsheet, we basically took your as-builts and went manhole to manhole with your invert elevations. And we're using the Manning's equation, which is basically gonna give you your hydraulic capacity of that pipeline. It's based on your material, your slope, and your diameter, all right? Steeper the pipe, bigger the pipe, the more flow you're gonna get through. Right? During dry weather, you'll see under this column that says average daily flow, 0.49. That's from your meter. In 2018, that was your dry weather average daily flow through that interceptor. And what that's telling you, all the stuff that's highlighted in green, you have sufficient capacity. You see, none of those are above 50%, all right? You flip over a couple pages to Appendix D. Now we have a wet weather event. All right, this was the best rain event we had during that metering period in the spring of 2018. All right, what it's showing you, we had a 1.4 MGD rain event under the average daily flow. Everyone see that, 1.4?
Yep.
All right. So now it's showing what I call in the report, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. Section 1 being the top
Red area.
red area, Section 2 being the more orange colored, that's in the 80% full, and then the bottom three sections that are in 90%. Right. In the report, I call those Section 1, 2, and 3. All right. The top section is the most critical section because they're exceeding 100%. Now, this rain event did not actually cause an SSO, but it was pretty darn close, all right?
The manhole was probably full, it just
Yeah,
didn't
so
bubble through the
what,
cover.
what this isn't gonna capture is as those manholes start to fill up, you're gonna start to put a little bit of pressure on that gravity pipe. You're gonna get a little bit more than what the equation's showing. The equation is for gravity flow. You start to become a pressure pipe at that point.
Pressure.
Very low pressure, but you're gonna move more water.
Yeah.
All right? So what this is telling us is, you know, we got a problem there. This rain event in the report, early on in the report, page 4, I summarize the 6 SSO events. Yep,
Table 1.
what the intensity was, how much rain happened, and then down below, we've got the metered event that we're basing our capacity analysis on. The big thing to look at is that rainfall intensity. All right, the rainfall intensity of that event, which was only 0.162 inches per hour, almost caused an SSO. It mirrors the two that were SSO events that you had in the wintertime.
Christmas, yep, Christmas.
But what's not captured there is how much snow melt, direct inflow contributed to that SSO. So this number really fails in comparison when you start looking at the March and August, September events. But it was close to causing an SSO. So what that's telling us is, you know, we got a problem here, especially in that north, you know, most upstream part. After we looked at wet weather, we started looking at possible remedies to the situation. So the very next spreadsheet, if you go back to, yep, so Appendix E. What we've done here is you notice that we're still red, but we're less than 100%. Highlighted in yellow, what we've done is, in this scenario, we're installing cured-in-place pipeliners, all right? What that does is restricts the diameter on about a ½ inch or so to get the liner in, but it's a smoother pipe, so it actually counterintuitively increases the capacity of the pipe because it's a smoother pipe. But it doesn't increase it, in this case, enough to make it worth the town's while, especially in that most upstream section, because you're only dropping about 8 percentage points in terms of overall capacity that you're freeing up. Does everyone follow that? All right. So then Appendix F, we looked at, all right, what if we throw a 15-inch pipe in here instead? What do we get? And we get, you know, significant improvements. Downstream of that first section, you're sub 70% everywhere. Well, you were right around 70 at the lowest end. But if you're paying to put a 15-inch pipe in, it's not significantly more expensive to go to 18, because the material cost 15 to 18 on PVC is not significant. The bulk of,
Estimation is the cost.
exactly, exactly. So, the next spreadsheet would be what's 18 get you? And 18 gets you a much better situation.
Not even 50% of the, just barely 50% of the pipe.
So when we were here about a month ago, the concept of, the focus was really on the most upstream portion and possibly putting in a wet weather overflow parallel sewer. It's a good idea. It can serve to address the upstream portion. But what I'm concerned about is that upstream portion right now is its capacity is 1.4 MGD. It's essentially throttling back what downstream can see right now. And if we go and replace upstream with an 18-inch pipe, downstream is now gonna see, if we put a 2 MGD capacity pipe upstream, downstream is now gonna see 2 MGD, it's never seen it before. And we gotta make sure that we don't solve one problem just to create the same problem
Just push it
in
further
another
down the line.
spot.
Yeah.
All right? So, right now, how this report reads is, we have what I'll call preliminary recommendations at the end, which is 18-inch PVC pipe on the upper stretches. Downstream, the last 3 sections of pipe before you go to George Street. All right, those last 3 red pipes in the spreadsheet. That AC pipe goes behind houses. It's in between, it's in an easement. It's in a spot that's gonna be tough to get to if you ever have an overflow or breakage.
And those are 90-degree bends in the pipe
Yes,
too.
it's, I question why it was installed like that. There might be ledge in the road and they said this is easier to go through. The houses weren't there, I don't know. But I think it would be worthwhile to look at extending the sewer up First Avenue to George and getting it out of that easement. Whether you rehabilitate that one afterwards, or decommission it, or leave them both there, it's something that should be looked at. And then, right now, it reads that middle section to cure and place pipeline it, but that only gets you to about 75%. It's still not the best situation. Where this needs to go next, if this evolves into a design and improvements to the interceptor, is all this is based on meter data that we have from 2018. We need to base it off of a 5-year storm event per DEP guidelines, all right? So that really wasn't the scope of this, but it needs to be double checked if this thing advances any further to see, like where we're saying CIPP line, what does that look like in a 5-year storm event? What that takes on our end is going through and digesting all of the data that we had from 2018 and trying to capture the intensity of that rain event and how does that translate into a higher flow through that interceptor. All right. So that's something we'd want to look at early on in design if this does manifest itself into a design contract, just to really confirm scope, if that makes sense.
And just for reference, the upper section is Progress Street down to the easement and halfway down the easement.
Oh, so we're off on West Main Street?
It's
We're not on the West Main. or whatever
So,
it is, we're-
no, so
Just-
this last map, I think, highlights, it's the very last
colors.
page.
Yeah,
very last page.
Yep, so these color codes mirror the wet weather spreadsheet. All right, so there's been a lot of work in the last 20 years on West Main Street, because there used to be a siphon that went under a culvert.
Right.
Now the pipe goes above it. This last segment is a problem segment, the last segment on West Main Street. It's the only segment that has not been
Oh,
relayed.
just that short piece.
Yep.
That little green,
Progress.
that little green section.
Yeah, up to Mason Road.
Yep, all right, and then down through the easement, into, there's a new house down there, he actually just
Yeah, that's-
just paved his
that's-
driveway.
If you walk the easement, halfway down the easement, there's a rise and there's a manhole
Yeah.
up on that rise. If you back up just a little bit, it's off in the bushes, there's a pile of scrap metal next to it that somebody dumped. But it's in the briars. Took a while, actually, Timmy had to come down and show us where it was. That's where that red area ends.
So my question is, that siphon was eliminated when they did that construction job several years ago?
Yeah, so on the back end of these ones that are colored, I included it in the packet. You can see, here's how it used to be.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
So they
looking at.
went over it.
Okay,
I
they
mean,
did go over it.
it's sitting right on the
Okay,
culvert.
yeah, all right, yeah.
All right, but they, in all this work, for whatever reason, they didn't address that last, because it was actually two contracts, separate years. Here's the second one. You can see they didn't address that last section before, Progress Avenue, for whatever reason. Maybe they knew that the slope going down Progress Avenue was still gonna be a restriction, so it really didn't matter.
So that one section on West Main Street and Progress. And in the middle area is the yellow, the section 2, and then section 3 is the end. Again, why it goes behind those houses. 2 of those houses that it goes behind are abandoned. They're all grown in, there's one of them, there's got vines and stuff growing through
The
the
house on Schofield Ave,
the porch.
he's the most vulnerable one because the manhole's right in his backyard, and that house is still occupied.
Right.
Yeah, so when, in this spreadsheet where I talk about 18-inch replacement, my thought process, I don't want it to be misconstrued, my thought process is not to replace this red line in kind. It would be to evaluate extending this sewer up to George Street.
That's what I would do, first down,
Yes.
straight down.
And- yep.
Is there any connections?
There's probably house connections but I look at this as long as, I'd want a CCTV the entirety. That was part of our scope. Getting rid of, debris right now is very problematic with Webster and what's going on in Woonsocket. So once we saw that this is not an O&M problem, this is a hydraulics and capacity problem, we punted on that. That was part of our contract. We don't anticipate, using that budget. But I would like, if this goes into a design, to CCTV all of this to make sure that we don't have cracked pipe, other stuff that needs rehabilitation, because it's a very important pipe for the town. And I look at this as install new sewer to George Street. If this is in good condition, line it afterwards and keep it.
Just leave the customers on the.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. One of the other problems is that, like, this first section, it's uniform slope throughout, so trying to, oftentimes when you relay sewer, if you have, it may be inconsistent from section to section, so you could rob Peter to pay Paul as you're laying the sewer to try to pick up capacity. The only spot we can increase the slope is that last section starts to dive. We could go one manhole more and try to improve the slope, just carry that gain all the way back upstream to try to just improve capacity a little bit.
What's the feeling on after manhole 270, when you go across Chase Ave and go down through the parking lot? Any survey on that work down in there?
I don't know anything about that part of the job yet. All I know is Scott told me that there was a SSO there years ago, and,
No,
George, sorry,
George.
and that, some work has been done and there's been no problems
On the
since.
shop corner, you did something years ago, remember, they raised it, they did some digging there.
I think
in
they
the
just fixed that
parking
one
lot.
section there, I
So
can't
just
remember.
question, if you're at this extent, you only have 300 yards before you're through the mill yard to the
I
trunk
believe
line.
there's some bends in there too that are
There's a
very.
lot of offsets beyond that point.
Yeah,
I was-
Private property.
I thought once to go through Fairview and straight down and find a way to work across, but it borders our station
Okay.
on our side.
Well, I mean, big picture here, it's, you know, I wanna make sure if this does manifest itself into an interceptor capacity project, that we're gonna have a whole interceptor approach and make sure that we're confident that we're not just migrating a problem, all right?
Yeah, just move it down the line.
No, I mean, what good
Get it
does
off
that
West
do?
Main
You guys
Street,
spend a
put it
few
on
million
Fairview.
bucks and you still have a
Put
problem.
it into the mill parking lot. You know?
But-
Like I say.
Put it in French River.
Private property.
It'll give them fertilizer for their crops. Yeah.
So the report right now, I priced the improvements as specified here, which would be overflow sewer, section one. The recommendations part spells it out. Lining, section two.
Page 10.
Thank you, Scott.
Like I said, I read it over the weekend. I think it was Sunday when I was
Yeah, so
from the fair.
And I caution that I want to call these like preliminary recommendations. Anything we do, I think we need to be backing that up into the 5-year storm to ultimately see what the overall recommendation should be to make sure we're not pushing a problem downstream. But section one would be 1,500 feet of 18-inch pipe. Whether that's a parallel pipe or replace in kind, I think is part of our job to evaluate that, to make a recommendation on what makes the most sense. If we go on CCTV this pipe and it's, cracked at midnight and it doesn't look like it's got a tremendous amount of life left in it, then we'll have to make a decision. Do we replace it in kind, or do we rehab it and put a larger pipe in? That's, to me, that's part of the design process.
So one of my concerns about paralleling is half of our issue is I. And now you've just got
You just doubled
two
your eye,
pipes,
right?
and
Yeah.
now you've got possibility for
I&I
leaks in both.
potential.
So,
Well, typically I replace,
that's what I was gonna say. I would-
but it was brought up at the meeting. I don't think it's a.
It's a good concept to get you through a problem to buy you time, but I think the real solution is just to replace it with the proper size and decommission the existing.
I tend to agree.
Just because you've got more issues, more areas to add I&I, more
if-
problems to fix.
If that pipe got incrementally larger moving downstream and we were confident that downstream was no problem, then maybe that is a solution that,
Right, 'cause you're just trying to Band-Aid a small section.
yep,
As opposed to fix the problem
Yeah.
correctly. But like I said, it's a good concept. It's just, I think you're adding to our problem.
Yes.
Kicking the can down the road.
yeah, and I went out and walked that road. There's a brand new gas pipe there. There's water. I saw a couple of catch basins. You gotta have the real estate,
That, the water main project that we're looking at now, we ran through that. It's where are we putting what? There's so much stuff in the roads.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the real estate to work with. And then again, now something else comes down the road later, and
Yep.
you've got more things in the way, or even 30 years from now, when none of us are here, and they're saying, "Oh crap,
I
why do
mean-
we have 2 mains and we got to replace that one? They must have had a reason they had 2 of them here."
Right.
But
All right,
There's
so.
the report, yeah.
So I threw a preliminary number on there based on what we're recommending for improvements now.
If we hold off a year, that'll probably go down, right?
You would think that these numbers would tail off soon, but
Use opera money.
Yeah.
we could have, if there was any.
Get billed back better money.
I guess that is the question, is how quickly do you feel you need to move forward? Because I know the moratorium is on your agenda later on as well.
Grants, forgive this SRF stuff.
Could you get an SRF grant for this?
SRF's a loan.
It's a loan, yeah.
Yeah,
PEF was just due like a month ago,
Yeah.
so we're pretty far away on the clock right now.
Is there any grants out there with all this infrastructure stuff?
Most of the money is being fed through the SRF program. The
that's how
other,
the feds are, yeah.
the other option, but I think
Read that today.
you're You're just over 10,000 population as a community, so you don't qualify for USDA.
Has that been confirmed with USDA? Has anyone?
I'm pretty sure if
Okay.
you're over 10, you don't qualify
Well-
for USDA.
Is the population, is the Seward population substantially less?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, but I think the USDA goes by the town's population. The USDA is looking at what the value of the town, how much the town has to contribute.
I don't think Dudley would qualify. You only have one zip code, correct?
Right.
Like, like if there was 2 zip codes, perhaps, but I think you're your own census designation.
I only asking, so.
I
whether-
understand,
whether
if
or
you're
not
only
it should make a
serving a
phone
small
call.
area, then you might qualify, but that's not how USDA.
Yeah, some people, some places get out of it if their population, say 11,000, but they have a sewer district that's only 6,000. And it's set up and the taxes and everything are set up differently, then they sometimes slide in.
And I think that's typically a sewer district that is, it's
Not part of the
not
town.
part of the town, it's a, like Auburn Water District, they're
Yep.
not associated with the town.
That's- all right.
USDA has been talking about raising the 10,000 limit, but it hasn't gone anywhere.
What does USDA stand for?
United States Department of Agriculture.
Agriculture,
Yeah,
okay.
Rural Development Program.
Is the 3.1 all in, like from right now till finish estimate?
Yeah, so that,
That's with the TV and the engineering of it?
that's design,
that's-
construction, and then engineering during construction.
So less our current study.
That's what the middle section being.
That's what the middle section being lined, that's basically the price for the recommendations. And that's, subject to change if we, once we start scratching deeper into this and looking at, we had to use the data we had available, which was a metered event. Now we have to go deeper with that and see what does the 5-year storm look like. DEP, when you're trying to eliminate SSOs, they want you to be sizing pipe based on the 5-year storm event. They changed that recently. It used to be a 1-year storm event, all right? And that event that the meter saw was still less than a 1-year storm event, all right? So the scope could evolve on the 5-year storm, because we have to basically run what that capacity analysis looks like.
It's important too to realize that since those numbers that he used in here, we just did an I&I project.
Yeah, just.
The I&I,
Upstream.
so let's hope that the whole lot of pipelining that we did up on the hill
True.
is going to decrease
So
this,
that's-
but how much,
That's one thing,
we wouldn't know unless we did
should
another
they
study.
get updated flow meter data?
Unfortunately, we know it didn't do enough because. we
Correct.
had
Had one
SSO.
event.
We had to go
Correct,
after that.
it's probably, we know there's a problem, like you
But
said.
Bob, you said like 3.1 estimate, but Bob, you're also saying mow lining replacement all the way.
No,
Basically, right?
no, they were talking about, there was discussion at one of the last meetings about one of the sections of pipe that's really bottlenecking things, running a parallel
Oh,
pipe
yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm saying,
Run the parallel
instead of
pipe.
running a parallel pipe and using this as the primary flow, and if it exceeds the capacity, it would go over the overflow pipe. I'm not for that. I think we need to fix the problem instead of just kinda make a Band-Aid.
Yeah, so that concept disregards creating a problem downstream. It just solves that first segment
The
problem.
intermediate, the
Yeah,
spot.
now you're sending 2 MGD down to this section that we're saying line, it's never seen 2 MGD in its life. And it's gonna be popping up, it's gonna be popping sewer covers.
And I still have an issue with DEP's thing on using a 5-year plan, because we shouldn't be using a 5-year plan, because we should be eliminating the I&I and doing it on design capacity, but I won't win that argument with David either, so.
The other layer is do you want to chase any more inflow that's coming into
I
the
think
system?
that's key. I think we should be focusing on some I&I.
I agree.
I think that's a bigger, I think we have a chance at resolving some of the issue in order to release a moratorium if we put one in. quicker with I&I work than main replacement work. Some of the main obviously needs to be replaced, but I think if you're looking at opening up to some of the
But
development.
even if we did the I&I study, and, get rid of some I&I, we're still gonna have to
These issues
get the
still
readings
exist,
of
but,
what the flow is with the.
right, but if you look at the chart from the standard flow, it's the storms that are killing us. It's the storm flow.
The storms.
If we can eliminate the issues with the stormwater getting into the sewer, that gives us time to go through and come up with a replacement program. You need to have something in place. You gotta kinda have like a 20-year master plan and say, all right, here's all our infrastructure. We're on the sewer asset management. So that program should identify the entire system, condition, age, what it's gonna cost to replace it, and what we need to do, and we should be able to plan out over, say, a 20-year period, what upgrades need to be done. But critical to that, in our current issue, we need to resolve the I&I stuff. I mean, I agree, it all needs to be upgraded to the proper sizes. I don't know if I agree with DEP's 5-year plan, but.
What I'm saying is that
Contradict
we could,
themselves.
for us to lift their moratorium, is we gotta know the flows.
And the
know
neigh- and the
flows, but
neighborhoods.
Part of that, I mean, if you're gonna do further I&I work, the first stage of it is metering. So you're gonna meter stuff. I would recommend camera in this section to begin with, just, we didn't do any of that during the initial I&I?
We did segments. I would say if you wanted to engage more inflow, this is more inflow, not infiltration, because it's not necessarily groundwater. It's more like sump pump investigations, yard drains, roof leaders.
And those are critical, I mean, those are huge to this stuff. I don't, do you look for sump pumps when you do meter changes and stuff?
Oh, I do.
It's on my form, you have to check if there is.
Yeah, he does. Ryan's
I
got
think
it.
that's
Stay on that stuff.
critical, because even if you upsize the pipes, we still have the issue that we're paying for sewer.
Yes.
We're paying Webster for all this water that people are pumping out of sump pumps, that they can pump off to the ground. So I think the I&I is more critical to me than a lot of the replacement, understanding that some of the replacement needs to happen anyway. Because it's poorly set up. You got bigger pipe going, smaller pipe.
Oh, yeah.
And I see the slope on just this front page. I mean, you almost got a 10% slope. I know you say you get better flow with a steeper slope, but that's not always the case. You know, I mean, yes, you'll get faster flow, but if you have low flow, all the solids settle out,
Yes.
water goes down, now you're creating blockages. So you got to get the proper slope. I don't know why they didn't put some drop manholes in here.
Yeah, the diameter changes,
Yeah.
it's like they ran out of pipe and said, well, we got 10 inch.
What else do we
let's
got?
put that in.
Yeah, go get the other stuff.
You're probably not that far from the
Oh, I
truth.
know.
What'd they give us today?
Yeah,
Can we
somebody
get-
had some 10-inch pipe in their backyard.
Can we get a full-size map with the collection system and directions of flow? Because you're showing small parts of it here. But, and you outline the stuff that you see as the problems, but how many pump stations are going into those pipes? So, I mean, you're showing where it's backing up in the pipe and you're seeing the flows, but there's side streets or pump stations that could be contributing, that could be causing the backup, and maybe we need to be looking in a different area. I work better if I see the whole picture.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Don't we have that in the,
That was one map I had, but none of the sewer, just a little one that I
not
gave.
just water, yeah.
We have your
Has a-
sewer map and
he has a
GIS, so
map,
we
but
can
it's-
print it to a large scale.
Yeah, if you can print a larger copy, just so that we can.
Well, we gave you a map, I think, of the sewer, diagram of the sewer.
I think
Something in.
we have it as part of the SFCS work that we've done for you guys. We'll print that and get that to you.
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, because I seem to remember seeing that,
Can we get the data layer? Do we have that? The GIS data layer, so we can look at it on a map?
I remember looking at it in my neighborhood where it flows down the hill to be pumped back up the same street.
I don't know, were those included in when we did the program? Did you have
So I believe we have a data layer we could give you, but it's not tied to any town GIS system. It's your own water GIS
it to the town, I'd rather keep it in-house. I don't like when the town starts taking things with critical infrastructure and start putting it up on websites and stuff. I've seen that before, it drives me crazy. Webster's is all on there, I could show you all the points that you wanna attack Webster's system, it's retarded. But
Okay,
All to 10.
I guess we've got some reading and some,
Some studying, some homework.
to figure our
the price that you put in there
plan
was
forward.
design, construction, and engineering.
About $10 million to,
Yeah, for the recommendations that we're showing right now.
So I'm sure there's some.
Yeah, that's our, what we think it's gonna take to do that. I was working on pulling a proposal together for this, and I decided to pump the brakes and wait and talk to you guys first on, how you guys were digesting this and what you were potentially feeling in terms of next steps,
that's, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's gonna have to be done.
Yeah, if we don't do it, it's gonna be somebody.
If we don't do it now, it's gonna be done
Sooner or later,
later,
you
and
face
it's
it.
gonna be,
Yeah.
and it's gonna just cost more, because
It's
nothing's
just-
getting cheaper.
What's the right option?
So to
So
do
it's to
the,
consider this, and then they consider the, I&I, that last I&I study told us the individual parts of town.
Right,
We picked the biggest areas to repair. Were there other areas that were close? I mean, I can't remember all of it, that were
There were
like
no
close
other,
third.
yeah, there were no other recommendations for like lining.
Yeah.
But it's almost like iterative process now that you've done it. The next best thing is to put meters back in to see where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, okay.
so as part of the design, you would need to do the meter flow. Or are you just saying you wanna move forward with what you've come up with, just with the data you had?
I'd like to digest the data we have. I think what we have is enough to correlate to that 5-year storm, and then confirm the recommendations or modify the recommendations based on what that 5-year storm event.
But you're also using a 5-year storm prior to the I&I work that we've done.
Yeah, you're using data
Yeah,
that's,
so I am, in that I am assuming that the I&I work that we've done is not gonna have significant, impacts to flow metering if we were to put more flow meters out there. Based on my history in the industry and chasing II, my experience has been that lining isn't gonna give you as much as, oh my God, we just found 4 catch basins over here that are connected to the sewer that no one's known about.
Yeah, the lining work captured
Lining catches the
infiltration.
I&I, the infiltration, but we think the real problem is sump pumps, roof leaders,
Oh, yeah,
possible
yeah, direct
catch
inflow.
basins that are going in,
Yep.
so.
Yard drains that smoke that, are connected.
Yeah.
Those are usually the big bang for your buck,
I'd still like to do something with 10-Yard Road.
What do you mean?
Smoke the hell out of it, see where that goes. I just remember seeing that water coming into that.
I think our metering area is gonna be on Mason Road, where all our pump stations come down that way from the top and go down
There
through.
was a lot of water going into
There's
that.
your hot area right there,
Mason Road.
that whole area coming down that way.
But
A lot of water pumpage come down there.
But you have pump stations, like sewer pump stations,
Yeah,
or
all
people with sump pumps?
Sewer pump stations that
You got
come, we
Lakeview
had a lot,
1, you got Lakeview 2, you got,
Right.
we got a lot of activity on that road,
Leonard
so.
Ave.
But the problem with that is you put a meter on Mason Road, and trying to get them useful data, unless you have data that's showing when pumps are turning on and off, and,
Yeah, it's gonna spike on and off.
yeah, your flow data is terribly skewed when you got pump station's tied into it.
But you could get us that information from your SCADA, right? Run times and.
Yeah, way through our logs, we
You don't
may have
have-
carrying the books.
They don't have skate on there.
No, the only one I think he has high tide is on Tan Yard, where you get some, there's two of them you can get some information from.
We have logbooks that tell basically the run times of the stations as you go down.
Yeah, they're just taking the hour meters off of it. So it's,
I don't think roof drains would be a problem. These are all single-family homes, basically. You don't see that.
No,
in
we-
single
we-
family.
some pumps are huge.
Some pumps, yes.
Yeah,
but
no,
not roof
generally,
leaders.
generally speaking though, because a lot of what, I chase I&I for the city of Boston.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes, you know, we say that generally speaking, these are the culprits.
Yeah.
It's not universally applied to
We do it the
where you're
old-fashioned
working.
way.
Yeah.
Major rain event, we go pop in some manholes and see them. Where we're getting,
well, one key thing is if you guys can start putting in an Excel spreadsheet, your hour meters from your pump stations, and you log all the rainfalls events, so you can start correlating. I don't know, I still think even, you need to address some of the infiltration,
Right.
not the inflow.
I mean, we can look at putting meters back out and seeing what we got.
I mean, I think we should get some metering done just to figure out where we need to key in on.
We'll see where,
Potential.
and see if that,
But I mean, you said you've seen a straight up flow coming in. And
Oh,
that's-
that-
That should be a
that-
definite, just investigate that.
At 10 yard, that one pipe, it was full. I was right after a major rain event.
So that one, I mean, that I would just have someone come in and figure that
Well,
one.
we did that area, well, outside of talking private property, you know? We came down Tan Yard Road, you had meters on West Main Street, Upper West Main
Nothing
Street.
recreated up there after that. It seems like the only event we had there. We checked all that upper side.
So,
If you have a specific pipe that's coming in full, you block that manhole off and smoke it and see where it's coming from.
one thought I have is so in our original agreement for this work, it was $40,000 total. But 16,500 was for CCTV inspection, all right? The rest of it, we're close to being exhausted on that, but we haven't touched that 16,500. We intended on giving that back to you guys because we didn't do the CCTV inspection work. So one thought I have is we could dig a little deeper on the capacity analysis, see what the 5-year storm event is, refine the recommendations, and maybe look big picture at the system and come up with some sort of continued II investigatory work and utilize that budget for that effort.
I think everybody agrees you need to camera this section that we're talking about doing anyway, right?
But, yes, but right now Webster can't take any material from that. So that's why we punted on it, because if,
I know.
so,
One of the issues with Cinder.
yeah, talking to the CCTV inspection contractor just to dispose of it, our best guess was like 8 to 10 grand just on disposal. And to me,
And it could be almost nothing.
yeah.
And you're
if
gonna
we-
pay that no matter what.
If this resolves itself next spring and we're in design and we do it under the design contract, then we're paying, a few bucks a foot for CCTV inspection, and we're not worrying about disposal. So knowing what we knew with the hydraulics problem, and it most likely not being an O&M problem,
Yeah.
we felt it didn't make sense to incur that cost for you guys right now in the process.
Yeah.
Is there any word on Cinegro, the whole Cinegro issue getting any better?
When we last talked to Webster, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, to gauge their appetite again on this, and
Yeah, we can talk to them again to see. if-
Just a general
August, it
question.
was supposed to-
I can tell you what Cinder tells you. In June, they said, we're definitely gonna have it fixed by July.
Well, yeah.
If they don't have it fixed yet, I can tell you that.
September, okay, so it's still, this is gonna be a long term.
And it's not just, Webster, it's dozens of other
Yes.
plants.
18 other communities that are going to Cinder.
George, if you gotta do any sort of grit removal from your collection system, what do you do with it now? Do you have any capacity to put it anywhere?
We don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
We have to be careful. Right now, we're lucky, we don't have to,
okay.
any small stuff, of course, we can use Webster. Very little stuff, but, nothing else. Nothing else.
Okay,
So, did we wanna get a proposal for engineering on this? So you're probably, what, roughly 300,000 for the engineering?
For design, my number right now is like 190-ish. With subs, that includes, some survey, a lot of this is already surveyed, but it is some survey, geotechnical, and CCTV inspection.
And once you do this, it's good for, what, 3 years? If we don't act on it?
Say that again?
Once you go through the design phase, how long is that good for? If we don't act on it within
Shelf the project.
X amount of years, how long before we have to redo the design?
There's not a set date. It's the longer you go, the riskier it is, whether the gas company put another gas main in.
The survey stuff is typically what they say you can't
Yeah.
go beyond 3 years.
And as designers, I mean, you typically would do a final walkthrough on a job before you put it up to bid. This is good practice to make sure nothing significant.
Paul, your recommendation on a partial moratorium, full moratorium, or if there's any way to finish off what we
So-
started?
I just, on that, it's, to me, it's pretty black and white in the regulations. What we talked about last time, that hasn't happened yet, because this meeting should have happened before we entertain a call and conversation with DEP, so we can, I think, clearly detail to them what the town's plans and intent are in terms of whether or not we're gonna do some work on the interceptor, but the regulations say no person owning or maintaining the sewer system shall operate such a system in a manner or allow additional sewer extensions or sewer connections to a system that will result in any surcharging, overflow, or bypassing of the system that's not authorized by their discharge permit. And here, more importantly, an increase in a surcharge. Any connections to the sewer. And Jesse Road is really trivial in terms of the total volume of wastewater that will go through your collection system. It's minuscule. But if you have a backup, it's added to your backup.
That was my point.
Yep.
anything north of the interceptor?
So what is your feel
West of, uphill of the interceptor.
if we were to approach DEP and say, look, we have a plan that wanted to move forward, they went through all the process before we found this problem. If we can find, I don't know what the estimate was, 8,900 gallons a day or something from that?
Yeah.
I have it in the report. There's
Just
a
shoot
section, which I think it's average daily flow like 24,000 gallons.
So,
Well, that's the peak daily flow. 8,000 gallons per day, peak, so your maximum daily flow on a peak day, 24,000 gallons. It's trivial.
we know it's small.
Yeah.
So, would DEP be open to saying if we can find 30,000 gallons of I&I to eliminate? And I'm just saying, if we can find, I mean, it could be as much as finding 3
Yeah,
something.
that's-
I don't know. If we can eliminate 30,000 gallons in infiltration
Yeah.
or inflow, we're improving the system, and I mean, I would kind of pose it as, if we're gonna get this contractor to contribute, that's why he's contributing, to try to improve the system, so that he can add on. I mean, if it's just us paying to do it, then why are we picking that?
Right.
We're trying to improve the system, that's stuff we should be doing anyway, but we're missing an opportunity. If a contractor could contribute to fix some of the I&I, we're improving our circumstance.
I get the logic. I can't, I've never had that type of conversation with DEP. I don't know what their appetite's gonna be.
Yeah.
Because they're probably gonna say, oh, great, you removed 30,000 gallons per day of infiltration, but you're still far short of where you need to be.
Right, but at that point, it says you can't add anything to the surcharge, we're reducing.
Yep.
So that would be my argument. Who do you deal with? Do you deal with Dave Boyer directly, or do you?
Dave Boyer.
I suppose I could have a conversation with him kind of off the record, because he wouldn't attribute it to the system if I talked to him, so.
Yeah, in terms of the next steps, I don't know if we wanna have a group call or an off-the-record type call, you know.
I've talked with Dave on 100 other projects.
So maybe that's the best approach, if your relationship is that, you know, in that type of nature.
He understands your logic.
Yeah, Dave's not the easiest one to work with.
You recorded.
I'll say it with him sitting here, he's not.
Yeah, that's true, it is you.
Comes in to do an inspection, you're flipping every single alarm and making sure every single one of them trips, calls, and does what it's supposed to.
Okay,
But, I mean, it might be worth just having a conversation with him to see if he would be amenable to it.
Okay. I mean, if you want us to partake in any of that, let us know what.
And I might just give him a call to see if I can get a feel for his direction, or if he'd be open to it. If he
So
says
what-
no right off the bat, then no sense in bringing it up to him.
as far as, do we wanna take action tonight, or do we wanna, absorb this report? I know, like I said, I read through the first part of it, and I've seen these maps. I haven't really looked at a lot of the prints, the strips, simply because I was reading it on my cell phone.
think we've
And
had
it
a-
was just, yeah, I'm not looking at spreadsheets on a cell phone.
I think we've had a lot thrown at us tonight. It's a hard thing to make a decision on what's the right way to go. Do you bite the bullet completely?
But I think we're not signing the proposal yet, so.
No.
But I and I,
Get it
no,
done.
I and I,
You have town meeting coming up, right? If we gave you a proposal, you would need that well in advance, would you need that in advance?
It's coming out of,
Yes.
saying where it's coming about like retained earnings or something like that, yes.
Well, I mean, it has to, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what a part of it, right?
we would have to go to town meeting regardless, whether you're
Right.
talking about a,
Right. to
in our
spend-
budget or.
Spend that kind of money.
That's not the money in the budget.
Unless it's a budget. The budget item's only gonna be 10 or 15 grand at most.
Well, it's the money also, a lot that we have coming to us.
We're talking just shy of 200,000, so that's.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
gotta
what-
go to town.
I think that's palatable, but.
I don't know what we have in
also
retained
want-
earnings on the sewer side.
They're 8, somewhere in there.
All right. I would say we would wanna see a proposal for one, and we should probably put a placeholder on for an article on town meeting, just in case.
Yeah, so we want a placeholder for the, placeholder for
That's not a problem. We've started it. I just gotta bring it to the finish line. I'll get that to you.
okay.
Does, like, end of next week fit your schedule?
As long as we get the placeholder in place, I think, cause we need to make sure there's an article for town meeting.
Right, I
There's
don't
a
know when they're
deadline for
gonna.
that.
Yeah, the October, they should be opening that warrant soon.
That's what I mean, it's gonna be a short time. You gotta have it before the warrant goes out,
Right,
so it's, yeah, time would probably be critical at this point.
right.
Get it to you ASAP.
Is that,
I said I'll get that to you ASAP.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Next week.
yeah. Scott, if anything changes and you need it to me, or if you need it like Tuesday or something, just let me know.
Okay.
And would we need a change order in order to utilize the 16.5 towards a different portion?
Yeah, if you guys are interested in doing that, yeah.
We can, give you an amendment to,
Just
redo
slide that money to a new task, new creative task.
So I would say if you have a kind of proposal on where that money would be better spent than the CCTV now,
Yeah.
just so we can start moving on
Yeah,
trying to address it.
honestly, I think short term, it would be Cause our scope was not, I look at the 5-year storm more as in terms of sizing a recommended alternative versus, what the capacity is of the existing pipe. I look at that as a short-term thing that I wish we had a little more time for a proposal, because that would help us better define the scope of services for design. You know, so short-term, I think we wouldn't need all that money, but some of that money to see what that looks like.
What you
would
could
be
do
helpful.
is we could probably give you a budget for town meeting, not a full proposal, but like a ceiling limit. We could redo that $15,000 of what was CCTV work, and then give you the refined proposal.
We can get a budget number for town meeting, and then look at a change order to do the additional work with the money that's in the current contract, so we can get a refined contract number before we sign the contract. That way, if we can dial it in a little better.
And would town meeting just be for the design, or you want potentially the $3.1 million number at town meeting?
I mean, my opinion would be just do the design right now. We'll go to, I mean, it's not like that contract's gonna be ready or out to bid before Springtown meeting.
Well, yeah, and, you know, if we ask for 3.1 now and
You get everything shot down, then we don't get the design done.
CCTV says everything, we need to do the whole thing, the 3.1 number's out of the window.
That's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if you go now for 3.1,
Well,
and all of a sudden it's 6 million,
Yeah,
it kills the whole project.
Right.
You know, the 190 or whatever it may be for the design is more palatable.
Right.
And we could do it within the enterprise fund, where we're not going out for a borrow. That all, you know, if you go for the whole 3.1, they might just shoot the whole thing down. But if we can at least get the design done, it'll make us sharpen the pencils and come up with a better number for the actual construction portion of it. Instead of, you know, we know you're gonna estimate high, cause you wanna cover your bases, but if you can identify more through the design process and we can get a better
100%,
number,
yep.
then I think, I'd rather go to town meeting with more accurate numbers than
I agree.
high ballpark
I agree,
numbers.
yeah.
I think the design would be a better idea now, cause like I said, you're not gonna have the design done anywhere near way before being able to do anything before town meeting.
Okay, while we're discussing this, I just wanna take the next, jump over one item to the sewer moratorium. I think with what, I've heard that law, that section of the law, read to me verbatim a couple times in the same voice already. So it's just, are we, you know,
I think we need to,
I
Mr.
think,
Chairman.
you know, we should probably discuss that, you know, right at the moment.
I don't know if we have an option.
My question on a sewer moratorium, what about the person that has a single-family lot, he's owned it for 20 years, now he wants to build a house on that end of town? Do you penalize someone that's been,
Unfortunately, the regulation doesn't.
The law doesn't,
no, it doesn't, you know, I can see multifamily, commercial, strip mall, but what about that little guy that wants to do something?
But if you have 50 little guys,
I don't know if we have 50.
well.
but I mean, yeah,
But,
You know,
but.
you got one, and then you get another one, and then you get another one, and you get another one, and next thing you know, you've got
50.
Or you have a developer come in one at a time. I mean, it's, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So that puts an end to any type of construction on that end of town.
for sewer, yes. For a period of time.
Yeah, for a period of time. What are our feelings? We do the bid process, no matter how you look at it, within what, a 5-year period, you have to start thinking of, this has to be done. Money, what, we
I
have to.
typically look at it as within a 3-year
3-year
period, you
period.
either need to move forward or you're gonna have to
Solve the problem.
go to a point of re-engineering,
Right,
so you're throwing more money at
right. To me, this has to be taken care of.
If you do a moratorium,
This
no more than
issue's-
3 or 4 years.
This issue's been, just in this report, the list of SSOs, that have been tracked, in the last 12 years, 11 years has been, one every 2 years,
But I mean, if you
on
said,
average.
you said,
And how many of them that were there before?
but if you saw a 6-inch pipe full, clear water coming in,
Right.
that might be the key to this whole thing. If, that's a lot of water in a 6-inch pipe, but that's what you said it was, so.
I have a picture of it somewhere.
Scott, back that up, what did you see?
10-yard road. It was after a major rain, but the pump station was failing or giving us some issues. So we were up there and had the lid open, and this pipe this big around, and it was just clear water just pouring into the hole, and then
Into the wet well, coming into
in a
the
wet
wet
well, into a wet well, and then it was the pump was taking it, and the problem was with the pump wouldn't stay running, and it was causing an issue. Or the pump couldn't keep up, that's what it was.
That hasn't been investigated further?
It has been, and to know, we haven't been able to resolve it.
So, like I said, that's part of that conversation with DEP. If we can eliminate X amount of gallons,
yeah.
if you've got a pipe that big, I can tell you that's far more than 30,000 gallons.
Right.
Or maybe we can put some cameras up, put some meters up there.
We have meter it,
So I
smoke
think-
it, do something to
You guys
to
have,
find out where that water is coming from.
Do you have internal CCTV capacity, like in-house?
We have a new camera system that we can utilize.
It's a push camera.
It's a push camera, it's not a,
But, I mean, that still helps you do some investigative work,
Yeah, we could do some,
you know,
yeah.
in a bind.
I can tell you the push cameras are tough, so if you wanna cheat like I do, you strap it to the jetter and send it up the line with the jetter. That's how I do it.
Tributary to Tanyard, is that mostly private?
well, that area there where that comes into that Tanya, a lot of them, it's Nichols College now you're talking some
Private property.
from
that's-
private properties on the upper streets. We've gone through all that, looking for damage, even Nichols themselves have gone through a lot of that, looking for
There's been a
manhole
lot
problems.
of work up there already, trying to find it, and
There've been no evidence of any type of
You
structural
said
problem.
clear flow.
yes.
The college is
Well,
right.
I
I
was
mean, it
there.
looked gray, but I mean, it was just,
And I'm saying that
I'll look for the picture.
that was an 8-inch pipe. I'm saying it was larger than 6-inch. And I'm saying by the end of the pipe, it was flowing out another 3 or 4 or 5 feet before it did the turn and dropped. That's how much velocity.
Yeah, you
was
were,
there.
you were up there that day.
That's how much velocity was coming through.
Your brother was up there too.
You know,
That's probably
it was
100,000
flowing.
gallons a day of flow.
You know, they had to have a sewer pump truck there relieving, taking the pressure off because the pump couldn't
Pump
handle
couldn't
it.
keep up, right.
Vacuum truck was taking it, running to the top of the hill to dispose of it, gravity
So this was
coming back
during an intense storm too?
after it.
It was right after a storm.
After the ground was saturated. And it was flowing, you could hear it,
So-
sounded like a waterfall. I mean, it was a waterfall.
It was moving.
It was a waterfall.
It was a lot of water.
You know?
And like I said, there's been a lot of work done up there to try to find it.
But it's a wet area of town. Dudley's subsoil is all clay. You dig down 6 feet and you're standing in mud. There's no gravel, no sand or gravel on the edge of the town.
So I don't know if some of that money out of the 16.5 could be used towards trying to identify that. I mean, we clearly have a spot that's been identified, we just haven't been able to track it back to where it needs to be tracked to. So I don't know if you have a recommendation on that, if you take some of it, put it towards what you want, and if there's some left, if we can just use that money to try to track down that spot.
I think, from what I'm hearing, that there's something there, how tough it is to find. Sounds tough.
You camera it if something's constantly flowing.
You know. Have we died anything up there? From,
Dye tabs or liquid dump them in spots.
That's.
No, not really, minimal, but not to a great extent, more visual and inspection.
I think some of the issue was the town's ability to investigate private pipes.
do we have a good relationship with the facility staff at the college?
That's how we drag him on the
Yeah.
board here.
Director of Facilities at Nichols, so.
You talking to him?
We don't know how our
Hence the
relationship is
recusal,
with
it's
him
all
yet.
coming full circle now.
Yes, that's why he left the room when Nichols was asking for an extension.
I'm catching up to speed, I just got the time bond in May.
Well, maybe before we granted the switch over.
Yeah.
No,
We should've put these in
so in
the
any
order.
case, so we
Paul, maybe you
so
could
we
come
keep
up,
moving here,
take a look at that Tan Yard Road situation, and with us, we
I
can go up
think- I
to
think
Nichols area, show you exactly what's up and around there, and maybe next rain event, we'll see if we can see what the flow's coming in like.
And I went out last rain event, and I called George, we went and inspected all of our structures that we could visibly get to and everything, and I didn't see anything.
Okay.
But we can, I have all of our drawings, I can show you all of our stuff, and what we've cambered, there's sections that we have not inspected on the college system, but, we've done probably close to 80% of it's been either cambered, inspected, or replaced, so.
No, I would like to come up and take that opportunity, because it sounds like, you know, if this is, you know, rain-induced direct inflow, which to me sounds like it is.
yeah, that wasn't sewage that was coming in.
You know, removing this could be huge.
And if that's enough to alleviate the problem, then you could lift the moratorium and allow Jesse Road to.
Right.
If we pulled something out like that, we would absolutely wanna re-meter, cause we would see,
Oh, massive
noticeable impact.
Right.
8-inch pipe flowing 4 or 5 feet is a tremendous amount of flow.
Yeah, it was flowing a full halfway across the inside of the,
Oh, yeah.
the wet well.
And it's got a giant head against it. We're down here with a pump station, elevation wise, 200-300 feet probably, you know? By the time it gets there.
Okay, so the moratorium anyways,
What do we wanna put it on to, whatever you wanna do?
from,
Below five?
how do we wanna, how do we wanna identify? That's basically on that side of town. From the
All the way to the fire station and even past.
From the post office, from the,
So this is where that big map would help.
from the driveway, yeah, from the driveway west,
It's anything that contributes to this pipe.
the Potash Brook.
Brook interceptor pipe.
Then you're gonna start before Mason Road.
Yes.
Yep,
That's one of the.
Because
from that back up.
The crest of the hill at Brandon Road, that flows downhill, that's where we split, right, at the top of the hill?
That'd be okay down that
Yeah,
section, yeah,
exactly,
but
yeah.
not Mason, Tanyard, that whole
that's,
upper,
I'm just thinking, that's what it splits
yeah.
direction.
I mean,
gotta
I'd like to try to do more investigation on that Tanyard situation. I would just wish it would rain, I hate to say it, but I wish it would rain a little bit where we could.
After this summer?
Yeah.
So you wanna make it?
Post office.
Yeah, but you wanna.
But even
go-
so, if you know the pipe that it came in,
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
just
how to
start
word it.
following the
That-
pipe.
Right, but it would
Mason.
be, yeah,
Right.
but it would be Brandon Road towards the post office, anywhere that way.
Oh, on the map here, when you look at it, you just have the top of, West Main Street coming down from Brandon Road, right, George? Because when you get by where we had the problem with that house, that goes the other way. That goes downhill to Schofield Ave, so I think our direction is
Or we-
north and west
Or
from
we
the
just
post
say anything
office.
connecting to the interceptor.
You know, anything that flows into the interceptor.
A motion that
That makes
we,
it general enough.
make a motion that we put a moratorium on any sewer connections that deal with the interceptor.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Define the interceptor.
The Potash Brook interceptor.
What time we can,
And what's the location of that? Is that the one in front of the post office, or you
Yes,
mean that
From
whole
the
trunk
post,
line?
from the post office,
Yeah, just so we
uphill.
know.
Post office west and, west of the post office, basically. we know what it is. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, and,
Skip one.
yes, we did skip one. The, change order.
Yeah, so
Which change order is that?
one last item for you, change order for the treatment plant project.
Okay,
For those that have been involved in the project meetings, these have been the added work that the town has requested, going
Oh,
along the
the
project.
pavement?
Pavement and additional radio upgrades for the system that'll improve communications when the treatment plant's online.
They tentatively approved the radio.
Well, I thought we already
Yeah,
approved this
did,
stuff.
yeah.
80, it was like 81,000 or?
Yeah,
I think the paving wasn't.
No,
Yeah,
but
there's a
I thought
section
we
of
did.
paving that
Just
we-
pay the one to the right of the building.
Yeah, I thought that was discussed at our last meeting. I thought
It
we
was
were.
brought up, it was brought
I
up
don't know
at
if it was
last meeting.
voted on, that's what he said.
I think I don't know if it was voted there, right? I can't remember if it was voted on or not.
Okay. And that is,
I don't remember voting on it, because I think I questioned, I think originally we were talking something about.
no, it was on
I
the,
think we're using it as a reference or something.
That's-
That was on
it's
the
on the other
opposite.
side.
Opposite side.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's over near where
Talked about
the
that.
chemical feed is.
Like the
to
front,
the-
call it
to
the front
Station
entrance
6.
area.
If you're
where the
looking at
gates are.
Six's front door, it's in front of, it's to the right, which is also in front of the door of the treatment plant,
Right.
so.
the project contingency can handle this.
Yes. Yes, and in that, okay, so,
And how far toward completion?
Without the exact numbers in front of me, we're probably 2/3 the way through construction, getting to start talking about startup.
You don't foresee any other need for the contingencies? The major components
Nothing
are
like
in,
that is earth-shattering. There
Okay,
might be some additional town requests.
small
said,
things.
where is it?
Furnishing or anything else.
Okay, the total SRF contingency for contract one water treatment plant is $291,000. If this change order is approved, we would have spent $104,000 of that 291, which is approximately 36% of contingency. And we'll have 186,975 remaining. Through July, Winston has completed 4.008 million worth of the contract work and has an additional 2.278 million of work and retainage remaining in their contract value. The remaining contingency of $186,975 represents approximately 8% of the remaining contract value of 2.27 million.
Can you say the dollar and percentage again?
The,
291,
which one?
the contingent. Total contingency.
The total contingency, what's left?
Well, you said 291 was the total.
Total contingency was 291,523, which is 5% of the contract value.
And how much was used?
And if we approve this, what will be remaining for contingency is 186,975, which represents 8% of the remaining
What was the
contract value.
204,000?
204,000, there is no 204,000.
What'd you say after the 291? I couldn't get my thing.
291, 186,000, 291,000,
Total.
that's the original contingency. If we approve this, we will have spent 104,000 of the contingency,
104, I thought you
which
said
is approximately 36,000 of the total
Leaves
contingency.
186.
36%.
It's about 1/3.
Yeah. So I had
Around
in my head
2/3 through the project, you're gonna be spent about 1/3 through the contingency money.
Yes, contingency's in great shape. Now, that letter is in there, it's in the tie-in bond folder, it's the last document. It's a letter from Derek Belanger. And he did list some additional things that we may want to do with with remaining contingency, which includes, okay, let's deal with this change order. Well, the software, adding to the alarm system, adding to the meeting room, adding some conferencing equipment to the meeting room, and then additional security cameras. Right now, the building is piped and wired for cameras, but no cameras have been purchased.
I think we should have them, I mean.
It was,
In our risk and resiliency, that
it was being
what I'm
left at that
identifying,
point
right?
to deal with the town's IT company and go through that, but, with the way things have gone through the budget process.
Regardless of that and how things went in the town, I think.
Right.
With the risk and resiliency, having cameras out to everybody else and not controlled through the water sewer department is a risk in itself, and I
Right.
think it's more prudent to have the control over the cameras
So,
over the water
so
system.
those are things to consider for additional, but the change order right now for this, for pavement and,
The radio system.
and radio system.
Do we have a price on the cameras or any of that stuff for a change order?
There weren't any pricing,
So
there
you
wasn't
should
any,
say-
so we can ask for that.
Personally, I think it was identified in our risk and resiliency, and it was an item that should have been addressed.
Right, but
in this
if we can deal with the current change order
Yeah.
first, and then we can talk about those.
So I'll make a motion to approve the change order as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the change order? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. All right, so that change order is good.
I'll leave one copy for town administrator's signature.
Okay. And then, those three things, if we wanna look at it and come back to it, or?
Yeah, I mean, everything that's on that list is already being discussed with the contractor for them to prepare,
Okay.
their costs.
Okay. I
Even
think the
this-
security
even this
cameras,
radio was,
security cameras have been an issue right all along. We did wanna try to go through the IT company, but, at this point, I think we're best to just put them in and then,
If we go through the town, everybody and their brother has access to it.
Yeah, I think I voiced my concern about that.
Right.
Originally.
it should be, there should be the ability to monitor it from the
Through the-
police
yeah, we
station.
Those were supposed to be the outside cameras, just facing.
Right.
Nothing inside or around
No,
technical areas.
No, it's outside security to make sure that nobody's monkeying around the buildings at night.
Yeah, that's all that was.
So, but, yeah, it needs to be
Just
monitored.
get them first.
They had
But,
cameras on them.
so, yeah, I mean, absolutely go forward with that
They vandalized it.
anyways. The telecommunications equipment, that's this stuff, I mean.
The change orders have to be approved through SRF?
Yes. Yeah, and this one already has verbally been approved by them.
Okay. I believe we are finished with tie and bond. I know you folks have a ride home, so.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
No Scally tonight, huh? Baseball cap.
Usually,
Yeah, I know. Okay, Webster True Up, we do have a meeting coming up, the 16th, okay, it's the 16th, I'll trust that that's correct. With Webster, it's a Thursday night, and I know, Mr. Brinkman has responded that he is available as well. So, we'll be prepared to, discuss the contingencies to the true up, and that's gonna be another placeholder question as well, to add that true up amount to the sewer budget. But there were some contingency questions that we had for things to do to add, to make things more, more fluid and more, modernize IMA. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Let's get going then.
Yep, so, we have a meeting, all right, we can deal with that then.
Sorry, Scott.
Indirects, we haven't heard about that yet, they're still stuck on budget, but,
Still
that,
requesting a meeting, Mr.
that will be, actually, they have a meeting Monday night, I believe, I will come and,
I thought we requested to be on the first one after the new fiscal year.
we did, and they didn't put us on the agenda and said they were still dealing with the budget. So now that everything is,
Are they gonna tell us it's the first time they heard of it when we do?
well,
that?
yeah, no,
Ken, I should make, well, I don't care a motion, whatever, but can we send them an invitation to be there every week until we get on? I don't wanna be, oh, this is the first time we heard of it.
right, it will be,
Every meeting they have, we should be asking to be on the agenda.
I agree.
So as it stands now, they haven't touched our account at all, huh?
nope. I did look at the budget and I know they haven't taken the money in, so,
Partial.
I don't think they've taken any. But, indirect costs, I'll go to the meeting on Monday night. Budget review, budget and revenue, we've got a packet that, Jen had left for us. I did look at the numbers. Everything, if you look at total salaries, I mean, salaries are going to be in line. We've spent 13% of salary so far, so, the line item should be somewhat close. The one thing that's, way out of whack is the reverse 911 code red. In an agreement made with the, the cost of that is shared between the water sewer department and the fire department. Through the budget process, it was agreed that we would cover it now and that they would, once the budget was straightened out, they would make good on it. So we'll be holding their feet to the fire on that. Everything else looks to be pretty cool. Sewer engineering's a little high, but that's gonna happen. The Webster processing and electrical seem to be high, so we may have an issue with the electrical. Yep. We may have a problem with, yeah, no, actually, we're up to 32% on electric on water.
Processing, that could just be, they already took out the next
That-
payment.
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's all that
they-
is.
Those are set payments, as far as I know.
Yep. And,
Check on that, might be wrong.
But electrical,
but
yeah.
the electrical is gonna be an issue.
Maybe I said it for, so, yeah.
Also, we are towards summertime
Yeah.
versus higher usage versus lower
Right.
usage and everything else, so
Right.
it may catch back up with you.
It may level off a little bit, but we're 3 times higher.
Doesn't make sense to me. Why it's so high.
But there's the budget, and there's revenue reports in the back there too.
Hoisting and maybe a CDL.
No, that's his reimbursement for having the treatment and the distribution.
Do that.
Oh.
Reimbursement or?
No, not but his stipend is the two.
Okay, let's keep one meeting going, okay? What's that?
That's what it was.
Superintendent's report. Did
Just read
receive
through,
that.
if there's any
Yeah.
questions you have, it's, you know, it's late and everything.
It
Nothing
didn't-
dramatic, it's,
Didn't seem to be too much, that's all.
see construction
G&G.
stuff, G&G and all that stuff, yeah. Word on, the other employee, maybe first of the year or after.
I saw him at the fair.
you know.
According to him, he doesn't wanna be out of work, so.
No,
That's what he said to me, of course,
yeah.
Work comp on that injury is
yeah.
long.
But, yeah, I saw him with his family at the Woodstock Fair. All right, Board comments. Tom?
Nope.
Jay?
Quick question, we voted in favor of the moratorium, we're gonna print that in the paper with some type of language, so people
Yes,
have an idea
we'll,
what's
we'll
going
make
on.
sure that it may wait till Monday,
Oh, yeah,
but,
whatever, I mean,
it
just
may,
pass the word before we really.
we'll have Jen, if you're getting that on the recording.
Yeah.
I would make sure
Good.
that the planning board acknowledges that they know that.
Yeah,
Okay, yes.
Just for certain areas.
Send it to the planning board and, you know,
Make sure they know.
and the
On the
corner
website,
office.
maybe some.
In the corner office and put it out there that
Yeah.
we currently have a moratorium.
Certain particular areas of town.
Did you have anything? George? Ryan?
Chairman, motion to adjourn?
Motion been made and seconded? All in favor? Aye.